Hey there to all the go-getters in Beirut, the dreamers in Los Angeles, the doers in Texas, and each and every awakened soul and spirit across the spinning globe. I'm your host, Tony, and I will be hosting this series in order to share information that I have learned with the rest of the people in the world. I'm not here to step into the spotlight, I'm here to flip the hails of this reality on its head. Finding distinct voices in the vast sea of ideas is a challenge. Genuine clarity often fades into the background. That's precisely why I'm launching these new weekly episodes dedicated to insightful perspectives, aiming to illuminate voices that truly deserve our attention. In my debut episode, who better than name often enveloped in a whirlwind of controversy, a storm that awakens rather than destroys, who better than the man himself, Alex Jones. Whether you find yourself nodding in agreement or perched on the other side of the fence, no one can help but recognize the fervor of his narratives that reverberates across YouTube and beyond. Picture it as the difference between savoring a plate of authentic Lebanese full platter in the morning and relishing a greasy shawarma in the evening. Okay, so just days ago, in an interview that sparked more than casual debate, Alex Jones sat with Tucker Carlson, shifting paradigms for some, ringing warning bells for others. Let's talk about this. That's our chance to make sense of the commotion, to decide our next steps, and to understand the historical cycles. The interview kicked off with Jones and Tucker discussing the pivotal roles of free speech and expression in our society, which begs the question, why is it so crucial, and where should we draw the line between control and censorship? Alex Jones, often hailed as the champion of free speech, recently found himself in a clash with social platforms, opening the door to a broader discussion that we can't ignore. Jones' narrative becomes a catalyst for our exploration of free speech. What defines the truth, and how do we navigate the realm of controversial opinions in the public sphere? This conversation isn't isolated to Jones alone. Luminaries like Kanye, Andrew Tate, and others are facing similar silences on various platforms. In the spirit of open dialogue and respect for diverse perspectives, let's change ourselves to examine different angles of this narrative. While agreeing on the content may vary, we can universally acknowledge the importance of robust debate in a flourishing democracy. So the discussion initiates by emphasizing the significance the interview unfolds with Alex Jones condemning the suppression of social media and punishment for revealing truth, branding himself as the most censored person to inform in American history and I believe in the whole world. John then reflects on his past predictions, positioning himself as an individual foreseeing events through extensive data analysis and spiritual sensitivity, critiquing the unquestioning acceptance of official narratives. He's portrayed by Carlson as a prophet rather than a conspiracy theorist. Jones' perspectives extends to the political events, globalization, and population control, touching on concerns about globalist agendas, declining birth rates, climate policies affecting agriculture, and the ruling class driven by hatred itself. The focus intensifies on the perceived threat of globalist intentions, reshaping society and controlling resources leading to population manipulation. Jones addressed various points highlighting the increasing wealth gap and painting a grim picture of the US economy. He explores a polarized nation on the brink of confrontation, weakening social bonds, diminishing unity, and a rise in substance abuse. Controversial immigration trends and growing demand for stricter regulations are also scrutinized, boldly blaming the US government for exacerbating its social problems and skeptical of President Biden's leadership. Jones questions his intentions and whether they align with the country's best interest. He then draws attention to a rising power in the Middle East. He draws attention to Hezbollah, signaling the emerging power dynamic in the Middle East that's coming up. As Jones points out, we're sailing in stormy seas, from cultural wars to economic divides, the fraying social fabric and complex international dynamics. Nobody has escaped the ripples of these collective decisions, and it's in our interest to explore these topics deeply. Our journey today takes us through choppy waters, but it's by facing these challenges head-on that we can aspire to a hopeful future. Let's hold on to our integrity as we navigate the complexities of our world. From the standpoint of a podcast that values open dialogue, it's not so much about assigning blame as it is about understanding the root causes and working towards the solution. Examine, discuss, and then act intelligently.
Now here's the bombshell that Jones revealed, and surprisingly it seemed to have slipped under the radar. The shocking disclosure is that the world elite scheme to diminish global population to 500 million by 2030 is already in motion. It's in motion, guys. So it's already in motion, unfolding according to the intentions of these influential groups.
If you believe there's value in open, well-informed discourse on topics that impact our future, show your support, hit like, share this podcast, and subscribe, not just for the content, but for the message of clarity and hope we aim to deliver. By adding your voice to this community, we're not just sharing ideas, we're building a movement ready for more truth, unfiltered and upfront.
Keep your eyes wide, your mind open, and know that we're here to stay, to discuss, to challenge, and most importantly, to understand. Let's make this conversation the start of something bigger, and be always ready to know that they will try to shut you down. Thank you for joining me today. Until next time, stay curious, stay aware, and always seek the full picture. This is Tony signing off.
And now I will be playing the complete 40 minutes interview of Alex Jones with Tucker on X. Enjoy. Take care, have fun.
We're here with the world's most dangerous man, the most censored man in the English language. But honestly, when you get him in front of an outhouse in the woods, he doesn't seem so dangerous.
It's a fancy outhouse.
We have a ruling class in the United States defined by its hatreds, not its loves, not its hopes, but by its hatreds. They hate all kinds of people, large groups of people, the deplorables, the bitter clingers, America's entire blue-collar population, the unfashionable people. They're hated by the people who run our country. But no one is hated more by them than a man called Alex Jones. Alex Jones is the single most censored man in all American history. He was the first media figure in our history to be completely erased in one day, deplatformed. Alex Jones was deplatformed before it was a common term. And not just deplatformed, sued, attacked. They attempted to criminally charge him. What did Alex Jones do wrong? Alex Jones didn't rape anybody. He didn't loot Macy's. He didn't burn a police station. He didn't invent a fake cryptocurrency and loot pension funds. He didn't start a pointless war that made this country poorer and more disorganized. He didn't open the southern border. No, Alex Jones had opinions that deeply rattled the people who run America. In fact, rattled a lot of us. And I'll just confess that I first heard of Alex Jones when he questioned the official story behind 9/11. And I, speaking for myself, was deeply offended by this. I didn't take any time to find out what he was saying, but I was bothered by the idea that this defining event in American history, which changed the life of everyone who lived here then, might not actually have unfolded as we were told it did. And that possibility was too destabilizing. And I remember feeling resentment toward Alex Jones for saying that. But several years later, I wound up in Austin, Texas, and through a chain of circumstances, wound up meeting Alex Jones. And I learned what everyone who has met him now knows, which is Alex Jones is not a crazy person. Alex Jones has said pretty far out things on TV from time to time, but within the bounds of, say, cable news, pretty far out. But fundamentally, Alex Jones is right about a lot of things. And in fact, that's why they don't like him. Alex Jones has an uncanny, really an amazing ability to predict events before they happen. He has called it, and he's done it on tape again and again, to the point where it's a meme on the internet. Alex Jones, prophet. Not conspiracy nut, prophet. But when you dig into Alex Jones's predictions, they are so spot on that it's remarkable. How does he do this? We're guessing there's a kind of spiritual sensitivity to Alex Jones. Maybe that's his secret. He was displaying this years before the average person in this country even thought about matters like that. Now it's pretty obvious to most people that the current war going on in this country is taking place in ways you can't see it most of the time, but 10 years ago, people were not thinking that way. Alex Jones was. And so we thought it'd be interesting to sit down and talk to Alex Jones, the man. the people around the country have really succeeded in making you disreputable. And the whole point, of course, is people won't listen to you. So we thought it'd be interesting to start with a series of on-tape predictions that you made, some of which are so precise and so prescient that it makes the hair on my arms stand up. And I'm being sincere, and our viewers are about to see what I'm talking about. Here is a list of things that you called ahead of time.
By the middle of September, that the new policy's being written, you will all have to wear masks again, and so will airport employees.
It's happening. Mask mandates are officially back.
We know the Joint Chiefs of Staff wanted to blow up airliners, Baltimore Sun, or if you let some terrorist group do it, like the World Trade Center, we know who to blame. And if there was an outside threat like a bin Laden, who was a known CIA asset in the 80s,
this group and its leader, a person named Osama bin Laden,
he's the boogeyman they need.
We're looking at a giant war in February right now. I predict the Russians are going to roll in. They're already there. They're going to roll in.
With attacks across Ukraine, which is the size of Texas.
It really was the Iraqis. That's just because they're getting ready to invade Iraq. And what a beautiful setup.
Those 9/11 clips are crazy. I'm actually bothered by the precision of them. I'm not accusing you of being behind 9/11. But how could you, in July of 2001, call that? You said they're going to have airliners fly into the World Trade Center and they're going to blame a guy called Osama bin Laden. Now, leaving aside what actually happened, how could you have known that?
Well, in the longer clips, because it's a multi-hour show from July 25th, 2001, I specifically walked through all the reasons, and I knew that they were hyping up that we were about to be hit by Osama bin Laden. I knew that the World Trade Center had been attacked the first time and that the Fed's been involved helping cook the bomb and allowing it to go forward. And I just saw a lot of the pre-programming that was happening in the media, because they were on the news saying, life's about to change in America. And I was reading what the RAND Corporation was saying and what the Pentagon was putting out. And I read the PNAC document from a year before, Rebuilding America's Defenses, that Dick Cheney had helped write. And it said we need a Pearl Harbor event on the American homeland to be able to bring in this police state and this control and then expand the American empire worldwide. So hundreds of pieces of data went into that prediction.
But terrorists are going to hit the World Trade Center in July of 2001. I lived in the United States then. That was the last thing on my mind. And I lived in Washington. I know the guys who wrote the PNAC document because I shared an office with them. So I was more informed than the average person. And that was the last thing that crossed my mind in the summer of 2001. Like everyone else, I thought it was a Cessna. But how convinced were you that this was going to happen?
I was completely convinced. In fact, in the full clip that's online, you can find it on Twitter and other places, it has been removed. I explained to people that they need to call the White House and tell the White House, we know if you allow these attacks that you're basically allowing it to happen. This is really draconian. This globalist Great Reset, New World Order takeover is a post-industrial world, cut off the resources, 90% forced depopulation, breaking civilization by design, massive wars, famine. They've already cut off a third of the fertilizer in the last year worldwide. It's estimated that'll kill a couple 100 million people. The lockdowns worldwide, not the virus, the UN admits killed 80-something million extra people in the last 3.5 years. And so when the first world collapses, the third world dies. And then what's left of them floods us. And so the earth is being put into a countdown collapse right now. And so I'm like the fisherman when the tidal wave comes in, and I'm like, oh my God, my wife and children are about to die. And so I'm not really worried about me because I'm a man. I did this. I knew it was coming. I've been proven right. And I'm not happy I was proven right. I wish we could have gotten ahead of this and stopped it. Yeah, we have a lot of credibility now that people see that we were right. So maybe we can stop the next phase of it. But the globalists have gone from testing phase, beta test phase, into full operational now. And they say, read their writings, we are going to have a post-industrial world by 2030. We will have no personal cars by 2030. You will be eating bugs by 2030. And we will start the depopulation of 90% of the people by 2045. That is the official WF, official UN, official Club of Rome plan.
What do you mean the depopulation?
They want to bring the world population down to 500 million.
But I thought we were opposed to genocide. No or no? I guess we're not.
Well, we're told now, don't have children, it's bad for the earth. And we're told all this, and Elon Musk is right and is a hero for pointing out all the actuaries show, if you don't have 2.1 children, a man and a woman, People go, well, man, a woman can have 2.1. It's in the aggregate, folks, out of billions. If a country doesn't have 2.1, 2.2 replacement rate, then you don't have people to take care of the old folks, society collapses. And so Japan's 1.3, Italy's 1.3, they're done as cultures. America, without immigrant influx, is about 1.6. That's not viable. And I'm not just talking about white people only here, but white people are 7% of the world population, maybe 8. And so I would be sad if the last of the Eskimos were dying. I mean, I'm sad that the Japanese, within 100 years, there might be 20 million of them. I'm now saying we need to call the White House and say, you've let tens of thousands of military-aged men from the Middle East in. We know a lot of them are Hezbollah and Hamas. The FBI has confirmed that. And so when and if there's big terror attacks, which I believe will probably happen in America, we're not going to have Homeland Security get more funds and more power and grope us at the airports more. I want prison time for the agencies and groups that have allowed this. And I want Biden. I want Biden impeached now. Okay? That's why we got rid of McCarthy. It needs to happen. Leaving the border open when there is a clear and present danger of this going on, and when we're very close to war with Iran, we go to war with Iran, they're going to activate Hezbollah, okay? And they make Hamas look like choir boys. And so you want to hear a prediction here, it's a probability, not a pure prediction. But I mean, if we go to war with Iran, guaranteed sleeper cells activate. It'll make what happened in Israel look tame in comparison. I'm not lessening what happened there. So I'm simply, and then again, where's the logic? The government that allows that to happen should go to prison.
I agree.
But instead, like 9/11, they're going to get more power when it happens. Mark my words. So
you can't have guns because we let in foreign sleeper cells to kill you.
Exactly.
When you got deplatformed, and to this day, no one has ever been more aggressively censored, I don't think, than you. I've apologized to you this in person before. I was in Labrador on a fishing trip and missed the entire thing. I was literally out of cell range. I didn't know what happened, but I got back and I read about it. I felt like it was a major moment in the history of the American media. I don't think anybody defended you when that happened. Anybody with any kind of audience.
For me, when Tim Cook admitted that he met on the weekend in August of 2017 with the other big tech heads, and they made the decision to curate, like it's a museum, and take me off. It was hundreds of platforms. I mean, it wasn't just all the big ones. It was everything from LinkedIn to our bank accounts being taken away to everything ensuing that week and over the next month. And I knew that I was a test case, and I wasn't taken off those platforms for any demonstrable reason. It was the questioning the school shooting thing that came later. They went and kind of dredged that up from my past, just questioning it a few times, blew that up after I'd been deplatformed and said I was deplatformed for that. But if you check the record, I wasn't. And so once they deplatformed me, it made the show in ways only get bigger with people actually going to Infowars.com and finding me on local radio stations and things. So then they panicked and said, okay, let's look at his record and create more of a reason that he's being taken off. So they took things out of context from 5-6 years before, blew them up as a current thing out of context, and deceptively reported on what I'd said to create a straw man argument to then facilitate the reason.
What's so crazy is if you asked just a cross-section of Americans who's responsible for the Sandy Hook massacre of kids at the school, no one remembers the name of the murderer.
Adam Lanza.
Okay, thank you. I didn't remember. Alex Jones. They effectively blamed you for a school shooting that you were not present at.
I have people come up to me in the parking lot. You can ask my security guy. He's been there when people walk up and go, why'd you kill those kids? And then you go, I didn't kill those kids. And they go, yeah, you did. And so that is what this has turned into. And this is bigger than me. I want people to understand something, that the mullahs in Iran and the Ayatollah are congratulating Hamas that just killed around 1,000 or more innocent Israelis, many of them women, children, disabled people, in a vicious, evil sneak attack. They are on there. Hezbollah and Hamas, mainly Hamas, but it's Hezbollah funding it out of Iran, are literally posting videos of them cutting people's heads off and killing children and massacring innocent people. They're allowed to have their Hezbollah accounts and their Hamas accounts. The Ayatollah is able to congratulate what these people have done, and I am still banned. And I'm not mad at Elon Musk. I understand I've been so demonized with the general public. He's barely able to keep Twitter going right now. I really appreciate what he's done. I admire him. I think he's done a lot of great work, and I see him moving in the right direction. So a lot of people attack Musk on Twitter. I trend all the time. Hey, if you're such an absolutist on free speech, bring back Alex Jones. I understand that if he did that, the ADL and others would really be able to probably shut down Twitter. So I understand that he needs to go through a process before he does that. So people get mad at Twitter for not.
Why the ADL? I'm not the world's expert on your career, but I know you. I've never heard you say a single anti-Semitic thing and an anti-Israel thing. Why would the ADL be against you? I don't think anyone's even called you an anti-Semite.
Well,
unless I'm missing something.
I mean, what goes on is the left forever called everybody a racist if you were just a conservative or pro-Second Amendment or pro-life or thought we ought to have a border. And that didn't work anymore to call people racist. And so the ADL gets all this big liberal donations. And so they go out and then police and take people's sponsors and target them just by the ADL calling up sponsors. Sponsors get scared and drop.
So, but if you give up on that, you also sell bourbon.
Man, you are really being nice here today, Tucker. And
well, you know why? I hate selling products, but I like this product because I love the name.
Look at this right here. This, my friends, is a gift to your crew because I know they drink. I had some drinks with them last night when we called Brian Stelter. But this
some of the crew does drink. Yes, that's true.
So this is for you. We got a few other bottles for you out there. Suddenly I can't even open this thing. This thing was sealed. Maybe it got locked on the airplane. Anyways, can somebody open this? I'm like here embarrassing.
No, hold on. I think the center thing. I don't travel with guns very often, so I don't know how to operate these.
I'm gonna smash this son of a bitch open.
Watch yourself.
There we go. Son of a bitch. All right, goddammit. Look at that. It doesn't come like this in stores. I'm gonna kill the people that came up with this.
Just walk that into the studio. We're rolling.
Tucker, don't kill me.
All right, we're rolling.
I don't think that plug should be that. Oh my God. I got a lot of points when you get to here.
Okay, that was amazing. This whiskey does not come with a hatchet to open it, or a black light. But does it come with a black light?
No, but if you have one.
But if you have a black light, by the way, I don't think I've ever sold a product on the air, but I'm proud to say
we
this.
appreciate you supporting us.
Dude, come on, I'm totally all about it. What does that say? I'm going to let you read that.
It says, thus to tyrants, meaning death to tyrants.
Yeah. I recognize that phrase. I think it was uttered in Ford's Theater.
Thank you, brother. Well, enough of that. I didn't mean to turn it to Who's Extravaganza.
So I want to...
The book is more important, but... Anyways.
So the last topic I want to hit with you, I could go on for hours. We're trying to get the audience of this social media app to believe that you can have longer content because it was, originally designed for very short, brain droppings. But
well, I think you've succeeded. The biggest English-speaking show ever. I mean, it's bigger than Jimmy Carson, bigger than Joe Rogan. Congratulations, showing that freedom is successful and popular.
Thank you. Well, we're grateful that it's a.
No, I'm grateful to you. You keep
that
saying
we have free speech. But but here's my question. So, all of the trends that you describe, I think very credibly, and I'm a little bit surprised.
But despite that, he's got 60% against all other Republicans. He's 15, 20 points ahead of Biden. It's backfired, but the deep state's not going to stop. So when you said to Trump several times in that 400 million views or whatever you got, biggest show ever, you said to him, well, isn't the next thing them trying to kill you? And he's so confident he doesn't want to think about that. And
he doesn't want to think about it.
Whereas I admire someone that's that confident. The deep state does kill people. And that's their only next move because this is failing. And I think they're going to kill Biden too, or I think they're going to try to, what you said in the speech again, before the last one I talked about like a month ago, you said, I don't see Biden and Trump being the candidates. You see the system, the media going after Biden, and he deserves it, but they were covering it up until now. Now they're covering the laptop. Now they're covering attack on the dog. Now they're covering, all of his senility, all the corruption, the Chinese spies.
Attacking a dog. What a pig he is. I'm sorry.
Well, I was told that by Secret Service and by people that, let's just say, work with them. And I'm going to leave it at that. But I actually have a contact for you. I'd like to be able to hear it from them. But when this is over, I'll let you actually hear it from yourself. I think they'll tell you off record. I think they're willing to talk to you. But yeah, he is completely out of his mind. He wanders around for the entire 2.5 years, but it's getting worse, naked in the White House. In the middle of the night, doesn't know who he is. They have to give him a bunch of drugs, a bunch of amphetamines in the morning. Then they've got to drug him at night. Sometimes he's got to, though, he'll like be out for the morning for a while and then comes back out at night for a ball. That's when there's a real problem.
He is on drugs. I have established that. And I know someone who witnessed it. I'm not guessing at this. I know someone personally who witnessed him taking amphetamines. And this was during the 2020 election.
So how's this going to, that's huge. I know you don't play games. You've been proven.
No, I don't play games with this. I'll just say he's a makeup artist.
Well, no, you said the NSA spying on me, high level, and then a month later they went, yes, we're spying on Tucker Carlson.
Yeah, I know.
So you don't make stuff up. And so what I'm saying here is Biden's a liability for him. Trump's a liability. What do? They have a right-winger, they'll claim, assassinate Biden, and they'll have a left-winger assassinate Trump. That then gets the country even in more of a fight against each other. And then they put in Gavin Newsom and, somebody like Mike Pence or who knows. But I really think the next 13 months is the most critical time, not just in American history, but world history. Because if they can bring down America, they're going to bring down the world. And then you've got the escalation. Remember a year ago, Biden said, you can't give F-16s and Abrams tanks and cruise missiles to the Ukrainians. That's World War III. Now they're doing it. So as Russia wins that war, as Colonel McGregor documented a few months ago with you, NATO is escalating. Well, that leads right to nuclear war. So we're so close. That fundamentally makes me so mad. This transcends politics. Since when do Democrats love war? Since when do Democrats love the intelligence agencies? They love them now. And so really the Democratic,
so dark.
Just
so
like the
dark.
Republican Party is a beachhead for sanity and populism. It's not perfect, but it's a beachhead. The Democratic Party is totally turned over to evil. That's why I thought RFK Jr. was so refreshing, but they're shutting him out of the primary process. They're blocking him. And so now he's going to run third party, which will take away from Trump. Most experts agree. I know Trump's people have looked at it. They think so.
Of course.
So that's very, very sad. China looks in and sees this diverse culture, and they say, we're going to use that to split the country up and balkanize it. And that's what they've done. And so communist China, along with the Southern Poverty Law Center and the ADL and all these groups, see America's weakness, and they're literally coming in saying white people are inherently bad because of the color of their skin. They inherently have cheated people. They've hurt people. White people invented racism. None of that's true. It's really just tribalism. And then they organize all these other groups into race-based groups to then unify them under the Democratic Party to attack who is left that tends to be more conservative, and that is some white people in this country. Though they're panicking because more and more blacks are voting Republican, more and more Hispanics are voting Republican. They're starting to figure this out. So now they're in panic mode to bring in totally disenfranchised third world populations who are refugees from the multi-year lockdowns in Africa, Latin America, and Asia and the Middle East. They then bring them to UN camps, brainwash them, then bring them to our border, brainwash them more, then send them into the United States, and then literally hold them for years at facilities while they're indoctrinated to be this new political underclass that's then going to be turned loose on America. And that's why you see Democrats giving illegal aliens the right to vote in their cities, giving them driver's license. That's why you see them passing laws. They can be police officers. So they are importing a new enforcement class against the American people. And they're setting it up along racial lines, not us. They're making it racial, just like Hitler made what he did racial. So it's the left and the think tanks and the communist Chinese that look at the U.S. and have seen our weakness as race, and they are exacerbating it. That's why they tell people, hey, you can be homeless anywhere. You can crap on the street, needles, throw your garbage everywhere. Drug dealers can sell you drugs. We're going to give the homeless all this government funding. Liberal groups come in and farm and milk each homeless person and skim a big cut of the money off the top. It's a crop. But then a cash crop. But then we see that and we think it's all over. There's nothing we can do to demoralize us and make us give up. And even though I'm conscious of this, even though I know this, it's still at a DNA level. I'm like, I got to go to the country. I got to get out of here. I've got to separate myself from this. But then when they release this toxic cultural poisonous gas, they push us out of those areas and they get the main infrastructure to then organize that, cut off the food and supplies to that group they have, and then tell them the reason you're doing bad is not BlackRock and the WF and Bill Gates. It's all those evil people in the countryside. They're all white supremacists and terrorists and racists. Let's go get them. Because the last group they don't control is rural people that are self-sufficient. And so I get going to the countryside, protecting your children. That's the holy grail. The problem is you've got to have 1 foot in each. You got to go back and fight in the city for the infrastructure, for the government. You got to give people hope. while also building a backup operation with farming and ranching and self-sufficiency. So that's why the WEF and the UN are coming in Ireland and in areas of Asia and in the Netherlands and saying by 2030, 80% of your cows have got to be dead. And they just banned like 30% this year in the Netherlands. And it didn't matter people were 80% against it in polls. It didn't matter. They sent the military in against the peaceful farmers that were just protesting, just like the peaceful truckers in Canada got brutally attacked. And so they're all WEF globalist alumni that the big banks on record brag. They've penetrated the cabinets, to quote Klaus Schwab. They've put their operatives in to cut off our energy, demoralize us, release the hardened criminals, put the political activists in prison, continue to cut off the resources to make an angrier world. Klaus Schwab says, we're going to make the world collapse. We're going to have everybody turn against each other. We're going to blame the political classes that we own and control. And then when we're done, we'll bring in our new solution. But first, they have to demolish the cultures and societies that we had before with the fentanyl, with the open borders, with the demoralization, and then they bring in their next phase, which is a high-tech, cashless society, robot, drone-controlled nightmare. More than half of the U.S. in their official UN maps that they've had for more than 25 years, that are some of my first films, show half the U.S. off limits to humans. All cars will have to have GPS. Everybody by law will have to have a cell phone at all times. Australia just did this last year, tried to push it through. And that's the admitted global UN standardized plan, where you don't leave your house without a cell phone. Every car is robot kill switch, GPS controlled. California is moving to ban all the, quote, classic cars. That's any car that doesn't have a digital ignition. And they admit it's for control. So if people think things are bad now, the straitjacket, the ball and chain is going on. It's all being militarily run. Our military is great men and women, but at the top, our military has been globalist, trained, New World Order people for at least 30, 40 years. They've got almost every general, every person under their control.
One of the things I find so striking about you, having watched you on and off over the years, and this must be a burden for you personally, but your ability to see people at a deeper level, or to see things in them that are not obvious to the rest of us. And I want to give a specific example. So there's a guy called Brian Stelter who had the media show on CNN. I first met Brian Stelter when he was a high school student or a first-year college student, because he would hang around the show I worked on at the time at CNN. This was 20 years ago at least. And I always thought he was awkward and weird and probably had a super creepy personal life, but I never took him seriously. There's a pretty famous clip, and I want to play it right now, of you critiquing Brian Stelter, and you take him way more seriously than I ever did, and I think you're right to. So this is a pretty famous clip of you on Brian Stelter.
Hell on earth. He wants to run your life. He wants to control every aspect of your life because he knows he is a cowardly, degenerate sack of anti-human trash. I pledge before my Heavenly Father that I will resist them every way I can. These people are the literal demon spawn of the pit of hell. Look at him. And you know what? He is better than you if you keep letting him run your life. He runs your kids. He runs the schools. He runs the banks. This guy, this spirit, this smiling, leering devil that thinks you can't see what he is your enemy. Period. All the narcissistic, devil-worshipping filth. I see you, enemy. I see you, enemy. 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 You are my enemy. And I swear total resistance to you with everything I've got. Disingenuous, fake, false, broke back, twisted, a defiler, a betrayer, a backstabber, a devil. You don't think I don't see you, Stelter? I see you. You understand me? I know what you think of me and my family. I see you right back. You understand that? You understand that, Stelter?
I've only watched that several hundred times, and I laugh every time, but I also, there's something to, if Brian Stelter had absolute power, would you and your family survive? Of course not. You wouldn't. You'd be, of course not, and neither would mine. So there's a lot that's true about what you said. How did you perceive that? The rest of us just made fun of him.
Now, once they started the censorship and deplatforming, remember back then they would deny it. Oh yeah, we're taking people off air, but it's not censorship. Now they admit, no, it's censorship. We're doing this for your own good. So he was really the face of that, and he was working for the head of CNN that was really in charge of it. It later came out. CNN currently is not in charge. They've handed it completely over to the Justice Department to quarterback, as Congress reported a few months ago with the documents. But at the time, Brian Stelter and his mini-me, Oliver Darcy,
His Popeye to
were going around calling up and harassing my sponsors, taking sponsors away. And they were going around and organizing big tech to take not just myself, but many other people offline. And so he was destroying our free speech. He was taking our sponsors.
But it's crazy. I just want to restate. You are not promoting race hatred. You're against race hatred. You never have promoted that, ever. You're not promoting violence. You've never called for violence. And you've never even called for breaking the law.
And so that's why there's so much anger there, because I remember the day I did that and a few other clips that went viral. I showed all the stuff he was doing, but then the media attacked me and just clicked it out of context, but still it reverberated with people because people were sick of the corporate legacy media. So people say, well, why is he so angry? Well, it's because he's literally trying to take us off air, literally taking our sponsors. I mean, the equivalent of the Vikings 1,000 years ago in England pulling up and burning a village down. And so there he is, all sweet and liberal and cackling and laughing, but he's really an agent of anti-American totalitarianism. And so he was the front man of that. And I wanted to just simply say,
well, you're right.
I see you. I know what you're doing. So people see it out of context and think, why are you being so mean to him? Well, I mean, he's literally trying to destroy my free speech, take me off air, and put my family on the street. So I'm pissed off at him.
What's interesting is, and I mean, I don't know if you want me to reveal this, but we had dinner in our barn last night, and there were some drinks. And after dinner, you and my producer called Stelter on the phone. And what was so, and it was on speaker, so I listened to it. What was so interesting was, you know, you've been very clear in a very direct, pretty masculine way, I would say, about how you feel about Brian Stelter. There's not a lot of confusion about your views on Stelter after clips like that, which doubtless he's seen because he Googles himself compulsively. He was very kind of syrupy sweet with you.
And that's why I was sarcastic and told him I want to date him.
You did, yeah. In fact, the exact line that you had was, Brian, I'm not usually gay, but I want you.
Yeah.
And he seemed a little bit, I'm not saying he's open to it or whatever, but he wasn't shocked by it.
And he's like, give me your phone number. I want to talk to you.
Yeah.
And then he hit your producer up. Please give me his number right now. Let's
that
talk.
was interesting.
But I was being silly with him. But there was also a line. He goes, oh, Alex Jones. I said, I want you to come on my show. And he said, oh, you still got a show? And I went, no, you're the one that doesn't have a show.
Sorry, I should. It's so,
tell him the other line.
It's so boorish to like recount conversations people weren't witness to.
It was funny though.
But you said, you're off TV now, but you were a real star. I mean, not on CNN, but on my show. It was so good. Anyway, but what was interesting was if someone had talked about you that way and then called you late night after a couple drinks, you'd say, up yours, pal. You know what I mean? Like buzz off, or I'm not taking your call. But he kind of sucked up to you. That's a very weird, passive-aggressive posture.
And then he brags that him and Dart, I was taken off Twitter, not for the Sandy Hook stuff that came later that they focused on. Look it up. They had the former head of Twitter and the lawyer on Joe Rogan about 4 years ago. And Joe said, why did you ban Alex Jones? The lawyer goes, okay, let me open my clipboard. She goes, here's why. He was mean to Oliver Darcy. So I'm at the Capitol. They're having censorship hearings. Sundar Pichai's there. I just confronted him in the hall.
Who runs Google.
And you guys are welcome to use that if you want. And then that was at the Senate. So now they were going over to a House meeting, and there's Oliver Darcy in the line. He gets to get in. I don't even get into a hearing where they then attacked me. They'd attacked me at the last hearing, but I don't get to face my accuser. And so I get in his face. I don't threaten him, but I say, you are an evil man. You're un-American, coming after my free speech, harassing my sponsors, trying to get me off the internet. And the last place I was on was Twitter. They'd held out. And so Jack Dorsey had held out. And so Jack Dorsey admitted, well, the last straw was I bullied Oliver Darcy. And so that's why I was deplatformed. Elon Musk thinks it was the Sandy Hook thing. And notice.
Do you know that in most cultures, bullying Oliver Darcy would be like a rite of passage? Like you couldn't, like that would be a positive good, right?
Well, but here's the thing. He's literally on Twitter taking my sponsors, calling for me to be silenced. So he's been attacking me, attacking my speech and my living. And then all I do is shove a camera in his face while he's waiting to go into the hearing for 5 minutes and say, man, you are un-American. You got some evil eyes. And I said, you really look like a piece of slime. I mean, I told him that. And,
Fair. Fair.
And so the point is, he's a man. He's a, quote, journalist in the arena. He goes around harassing people and stalking them financially and their free speech. He'd already bragged that he'd gotten me taken off all this other stuff and that he was instrumental, which he was. And then he can't take me saying, man, you're a jerk. They're going to destroy the planet.
I believe that. Last question. Where will you be in 5 years? Are you going to stay in this country? Can you stay in this country? I mean, speaking of escalation, again, I still have never figured out what your crime is, but you have been persecuted for something in an escalating way.
I got 2 subpoenas last week.
Subpoenas?
I got subpoenas on January 6th, again, in a criminal investigation.
Well, you didn't do anything on January 6th.
And I got subpoenaed in Trump's criminal trial in Georgia.
On what ground? On what?
And then my lawyer called and said, what is this? And they said, well, we don't just want him as a witness. He's a subject. I had nothing to do with Georgia. I'm not saying it's bad they went and challenged it. That's their right. I mean, I went and protested there. So it's just pure intimidation. So I have a problem. It's that I don't like to cut and run. I'm not the toughest guy around, but growing up in Dallas was some pretty rough people. Some big guy started to fight with me. I just couldn't back off. And I almost always won those fights or went to the hospital trying. And so I decided to go down with the ship. I'm not going to leave the country. I'm not going to back down. And I'm going to continue to fight with everything I've got. I'll never sell out. I'll never give in. I could give out. That's why support's critical and word of mouth, because Alex Jones is seen as a focal point, like capture the flag by the globalists. If they can shut me down, they believe they can shut anybody down. They've said that. And so it's human intelligence and human action and word of mouth. Talking about Infowars.com, my show, what I do, is a test case, almost like Stalingrad in World War II, where all these forces of the globalists keep thinking, we beat this guy at this city, at this point, at this battle, we win. And so I don't think I'm even that important. I've just been chosen as this main battle point. So all these grassroots people and people like you and other great folks are supporting me through just supporting the First Amendment. And so I've got that backing, and that enrages the globalists. So the more they throw against me, the more support I get, and it's really become a historic battle. If I'm completely banned and debanked and shut down and can't operate, only then would I try to evacuate somewhere to try to keep my show on the air. But I've looked at it, and I don't even think that that's the case. Once they disrupt and shut down something, it's very hard to restart it. The good news is there are so many other great talk show hosts, so many other great people that now understand this and even have perspectives better than mine, that I'm not obsolete yet. But thanks to you and thanks to Russell Brand, they're trying to now set up, and Joe Rogan's come a long way, and Steve Bannon and countless other shows that I tune into that have high level understanding and teach me a lot. And my head's in the game. So you're our champion, Tucker, and there are other people, lesser. I know you don't want to be the top dog, but you are. That's why you're under attack. Thanks to you, I know no matter what happens to me, men and women are going to continue the fight forward into the future. But this is an Alamo situation. I'm not evacuating. I'm not leaving. I'm not going.
How'd they do at the Alamo? Do you remember?
Everybody got killed.
Oh, okay.
But that example led to a big, my mom's family raised Colonel Travis's son. And on my dad's side, too, they were heavily involved. First Texas families, we have like Mexican land grants for our property. We still have Mexican land we paid for, 12 cents an acre, like 1825 in East Texas. You come visit. So it's not as cool as your place, but it's pretty cool. And the last letter he wrote on that piece of wallpaper was to one of my great-great-great-great-grandfathers in Gonzales, Texas, saying, please take care of my little boy. But Travis knew he was going to die. But he was like, I got 10,000 troops coming in on our 200 and something. We're going to give them one hell of a fight and kill a bunch of them before they can get up north for the main battle. And they killed thousands, 3,000, it's estimated, we go from memory, Mexican troops. And so that'd be an honor to have like 10,000 troops coming at me and I'm in the Alamo. I don't have a death wish, but man, it gets me high as a kite. and so I'm not doing what Colonel Travis did. The only reason they got beat is they ran out of ammo, basically. They had powder, but no more ball. And they were fighting with swords at the end. So those are tough men, and I don't even measure up to them. But I want to try to measure up. And so it's very exciting. It's instinctive. It's spiritual to be defending humanity and prosperity and freedom and justice against these globalist child trafficking monsters, the open border, all this evil. I mean, so my cells tell me to do this. My guts, my sinews say you're ordered to do this. And I don't feel good unless I do it. And so the bigger the attacks get, it's the old World War II saying, when the planes were over the target, they didn't really have radar, but they knew the bases and the factories had flak. So they're shooting at them with artillery, anti-aircraft artillery. So you flew into that. And so the best place I want to be is in the flak. But I also hate the flak because we could blow up and we're not in the fight anymore. So there's that paradox. But 90% of me wants to be in the flak. 10% says maybe you should steer a little around it because you don't want to get knocked out. And until just a few years ago, I felt really bad because it didn't seem the paradigm had been shattered and people didn't actually read the globalist documents. Now there's been a paradigm shattering and I'm almost obsolete, Tucker. And as soon as that happens, as soon as I see another couple hundred more prominent people that actually know what's going on, we've already reached a chain reaction point, I'm going to hang it up and disappear like Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Alex Jones. Thank you. Thank you. What a great conversation.
Thank you, brother.
I really appreciate it.
Thanks for your courage, Tucker.
Thank you.
Love your crew. Great energy.
Thank you.
Americana, baby.
Alex Jones.
John Cena people say the new